Hello, bonjour, здравствуйте, assalamu alaikum, guten tag, hola, and a big warm welcome to the Knitters Party podcast. My name is Megan. You can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Meg311, yo. You can also find my Ravelry group for the podcast. That's going to have some information, fun little group chats to get involved with, and just some general things that I would love to hear from you guys. Awesome. So, as a big warm welcome to the fall, happy fall solstice, everybody. I've got a lovely fall beer for us to drink together. It's the Vanilla Java Porter by Atwater Brewery. They are out of Detroit, Michigan. I'm coming to you from my parents' house in Clarkston, Michigan, where I will be probably for another couple of weeks before we go to Egypt, but more on that later, maybe. Anyway, let's start drinking. Oh yeah. You know, I've heard in a lot of different places that beer from a can is actually better because bottles do let in some light. And so if you drink beer from a can, your quality is going to be higher, the freshness is going to be higher. Oh my God, this is more than a pint. Uh-oh. Well, looks like I'm getting drunk this afternoon. Hope you've got one with me to drink. I'm drinking this out of my lovely Northville Brewing Company glass that I picked up in San Diego back when we were there last year. I got this glass a couple of years ago, but we were there a few years back. Anyway, it makes me think of my home and miss all my friends and family people there. So cheers to San Diego, cheers to Detroit Brewery, cheers to fall, cheers to sweater weather. I feel like we've got a lot to celebrate in this issue. Let's get into it. Oh, that's good. That's really good. Ooh, okay, so it's sort of a sweet beer. I would think of it as a dessert beer. The color is really beautiful, a very dark, rich, malty color. Nice head on there. It is a porter, so it's going to be a dark beer, lots of malt rather than hops. Anyway, you can taste the Java, you can taste the vanilla, but neither of them are overpowering. I'm actually really impressed with this one. All right, let's see if I drank enough to top off the rest. Still no. Keeping it classy. Let's do this, guys. Heyo. Nice. All right, welcome to the podcast. Let's get into some knitting, shall we? The first thing I want to talk about is something that has bothered me in the past, and I forget about it from time to time just because my yarn doesn't really have this problem on a normal basis, but I guess when you're buying more affordable yarn, we all know that I love affordable cheap yarn, whether it be cotton or acrylic, what have you. I have now had 3 balls of yarn with a fucking knot in. I'm sorry, this is an X-rated podcast apparently. Anyway, I've had 3 balls of yarn that had a knot in them, and I am so mad because the knot will happen in the middle of a row. It's not like at the end of a row where I can just cut it out and, you know, reattach the yarn. No, it's like a visible knot. In these 2 skeins are cotton. It's a Serdar DK cotton weight, DK weight cotton yarn, and these knots were really tough because this yarn is unforgiving, and so the knots were happening. It made it for a very bumpy feel. I mean, it's a knot in your friggin' yarn. Nobody wants it, but I was so pissed because 3 skeins of yarn in one friggin' week have had knots in them. So I know it bothers all the rest of you. I just don't understand why this is common practice in the yarn industry. How is it okay to just pop a knot in there and keep going with your skein or with your ball or with your, you know, your hank, whatever it is? You're the manufacturer. Why not just either find a better way to connect 2, you know, pieces of yarn so that there's not a knot, or you can suck up the difference and just start that new ball of yarn with the new skein that doesn't have a knot in it. Because I'm sorry, you're the one who's producing all this wool. Every 437 yards is a skein. Why not just cut it there, stop your wool production there, and not make it longer so that you're going to end up with knots in your skeins? Pet peeve of mine. It's not a pet peeve. It's a real gripe. I'm sorry. I just don't care to deal with it. You know? Fix it! Industry! We're talking. I'm loud. I'm proud. I'm here to tell you I don't like knots in my frickin' yarn. This is a Knit Picks comfy worsted weight yarn. It's cotton and acrylic. Definitely had a huge knot in it. These two, like I said, are a cotton DK weight yarn from Sirdar from the UK. 2 big knots in it. I was mad. Anyway, let me get back to my happy place, take a sip of beer, and actually let you know what am I wearing today, because I'm quite happy to be wearing this particular sweater. So, this, my lovelies, is the Dragonfly Jumper by Joji Locatelli. It is a worsted weight turtleneck long sleeve pattern by Joji, my gal. But I have decided to knit this out of a lace weight yarn. This, I knit this about 3 years ago. Actually, it was 3 years ago because it just popped up on my Facebook news feed. You know, on this day 3 years ago, I posted all these pictures of my lovely, I call this the San Diego sweater, when you knit, you know, a worsted or a DK weight sweater in lace weight yarn. You basically just try to get gauge. If you need to up your needle size, if you need to up your stitches, who cares? Make it work. It's a San Diego sweater. I can have as much positive ease as I want on this thing, or I can have it sort of form-fitting. But the reason I'm wearing it today is because yesterday was the first cold day of the fall, of this whole season, since I've been home from London. We came back in August. All of August, all through September so far, has been incredibly warm here in Michigan. And so yesterday was the first day it was actually cold. So I grabbed my sweater, my hand knit sweater. This one was the other Joji pattern that I had knit. It was the Old Romance cardigan that I turned into a sweater. Go take a look at episode 1 if you haven't seen it. I'll be wearing it again, I'm sure. But anyway, I was wearing the sweater and it just made me want to wear all my hand knits. And then I realized that they were all sort of musty and just smelled not so fresh and so clean. So I put all my hand knits together, I put them all into a little water basin with some wool wash in there, and I washed and blocked all my sweaters again. So I feel like this is a whole new thing. It fits me a lot nicer now that I was able to block it out, and it smells nice and fresh. I just used the Knit Picks. I think it comes in a little 2-ounce wool wash. I have the lavender one and the tea tree oil one, both of which I like. I sort of save the lavender for very special hand knits, or when I just finish a project and I want it to, you know, I want to wear it right away, I want it to smell good, look good, all that sort of stuff. So I'll use my lavender one for that. But then when I'm just washing my knits on a more regular basis, I'll use the less special tea tree. But it smells good as well, and I just am addicted to all sorts of essential oils and, you know, aromatherapy, things like that. Anyway, so that's my Joji Dragonfly's jumper that I have turned into a very light, you know, just a little lightweight shirt, and I love it. However, this yarn is definitely not, sorry for the pit shot, I feel like one of those Dove girls. Oh, paint me like one of your Dove girls. Oh, anyway, sorry for the pit shot, but that's what we're talking about right now. This is knit out of, I keep forgetting the name of the yarn, but it's definitely a non-superwash wool because my armpits have completely felted. And so this used to be a lot lacier, a lot prettier. Oh, there's a fly in here. But now it's definitely been felted a little bit. Whatever, if that's the worst that I can say for a hand knit garment that took me forever to make, I'm happy with it. The nice thing about this sweater is that this is my very first knit ever. So, I'm sorry, my first garment. What am I saying? My first knit. That's not true. This is my first garment. I think it fits me quite nicely. I can give it positive ease, negative ease with blocking, sort of whatever I want, but I'm really proud of this. What's a little strange for me is that I don't often wear neutral colors. I'm more of like a gem tone, jewel tone kind of person. And so this, to be like just a random taupe, you know, not neutral color, is very interesting and different for me. So anyway, I guess that's that for now. Let's move on, shall we? Cool. So I talked about my bone that I had to pick with the yarn industry. Get rid of the holes. I've talked about what I'm wearing. Let's get into my lovely finished objects. Last episode I was in Canada, Edmonton, Alberta, where my in-laws live basically, and made for my mother-in-law and her sister, so my auntie-in-law. I made them both the Celtic cable neck warmer by Lindsay Hendricks, and one of my viewers so nicely commented on, I think I'm a member of a couple of groups on Facebook, a couple like Knitting Uncensored, Knitting Natter, and like all things knitting. Anyway, I posted a couple pictures of these lovely neck warmers that I had finished, and someone pointed out that it is a free pattern. I actually thought that it was a paid for pattern. I purchased this, well, I had made my first neck warmer back in February, so I had forgotten that it was a free pattern. Anyway, it's a free pattern, and now I've made 3 of them, and I absolutely love the pattern. I can't get enough. It's all lovely cables. But I don't have the actual object here with me to show you guys. So I'm gonna put in a picture right here. So that you can see my lovely neck warmers that I made in 2 different colors. And I had made those out of just acrylic yarn from the craft store. I let my mother-in-law pick the color for her, and then I had her help me with the color for my auntie-in-law as well. And so they both loved it. They look lovely, and the day after we left Canada, it snowed. So they were very happy to have some nice warm winter accessories to wear. So I was happy about that. And that was my first and second officially finished objects. Sorry I don't have them with me today, but that picture should be lovely. And then my other finished object, because I only have this one to really show you guys on the podcast, but this next finished object was one that I had showed last week on the podcast for a very special somebody who is trying for a baby in my life. And if you are watching when you know who you are, turn away, because this is not to be seen until you have a baby. So whenever that is, you can't see this, but I'm going to be, you know, leaving for Egypt, and chances are we're leaving for Egypt in mid-October 2017 or as late as November 1st, 2017. There's a possibility that this person will give birth while I'm away. So I've been trying to knit a few things here and there for them so that they can have a couple things when the baby comes when I'm away. So as much as it sucks, I'm sort of putting this to the side so that they can have it. I finished my absolutely adorable baby romper. This pattern is the Mio Romper by Pippi Eve, and it is a seed stitch romper. This baby better fucking love it, man. My wrists hurt after knitting this for an hour or so. I would start to, you know, get a little carpal tunnel in my wrists, because seed stitch going back and forth, knitting, purling, it's just a lot of movement for my hands, and it was a lot. So I'm actually really proud that I finished this, and as quickly as I did, I sort of just wanted to friggin' finish it. So this is the Mio Romper. It's really adorable. This actually is the 0 to 3 month old size. So this is the smallest size it comes in, and I think it looks like a sack of potatoes. I think it looks kind of big. Do you think so, or maybe not? I don't know. And if you'll remember last time, I was about this far up the the front of it. So it is a seamed piece, knit in 2 pieces, front and back. The back has these adorable little suspenders that you knit to, geez, if I can get a hold of it. You knit the suspenders, they go around the front where they connect. I've made a couple different buttonhole sizes because I thought this was really big. So I wanted them to be able to, you know, maybe make it a little smaller or a little snugger on this little nugget who's going to be here. But I'm not sure exactly what, I don't know how big a baby is. Maybe this is like teeny tiny, but I blocked it out, I washed it. It's a very nice, it smells pretty good too, but it's a very nice soft cotton. I actually do like these purl bumps for one reason, and the seed stitch, I'm sorry, and that's because I think babies need a little bit of like tactile environment. Again, speaking from the non-mom over here, I think that babies need tactile sensory input, and so, you know, some of these little bumps, you know, they might just add a little flair or fun texture so that a, you know, a baby can actually like touch it. The reason I say that is because there is a charity out there and I don't know the name of the charity, but you make little amigurumi, you knit them or crochet them, little amigurumi octopus for preemie babies, premature babies. And the reason that you knit these octopus is because, you know, sort of the pulling and all the tentacles are coiled up on each other, almost like a potato chip scarf. And so they're coiled up so babies can sort of touch it and pull it and it goes back. It's bumpy, it's got texture, it's got, you know, all sorts of fun colors. And the idea being that, you know, babies need all sorts of sensory input. And so the more texture, the more color, the more fun and excitement you can add to a toy or to their clothing or whatever, you know, the better. I don't know how that stands up scientifically. I have just liked the idea of knitting an octopus for a premature baby, so I looked into that charity. But you, if you're a mom, can probably tell me whatever your opinion is on the matter. Point is, this little nugget better like it because seed stitch is hard on my hands. So yeah, anyway, it's adorable. The yarn that is knit with this is the Serdar DK cotton. Here we go, I've got a tag for it actually. Serdar DK cotton, I had 2 colors. There we go, heyo. It is a 100 gram, 232 yards, 100% cotton yarn, and I had purchased this at the haberdashery in the UK. I had spoken to the person who is a soon-to-be parent, and I asked them what colors they would like. They said these colors for, you know, baby things, a nice teal and a nice silver. They do not name their colorways, so I wish I could tell you the official, you know, oh, seafoam green and cadaver gray, or cadaver gray, that's a horrible name for a kid's color. Let's say rocket ship silver. God, I'm bad at this today. Anyway, they don't have names, so I have just come up with the 2. Seafoam green and cadaver gray, apparently. I like the colors, very nice cotton, but again, there was a knot in the work. So luckily for this pattern, I was able to, you know, cut the yarn, reattach it, and then, you know, weave in the ends later. It wasn't a big deal. But in the other project, which you'll see in my works in progress, I wasn't able to do that, and now it has like a little friggin' lump in it, and I'm so mad. Whatever. The reason I did 2 colors, sorry, my strap came loose. The reason I did 2 different colors here is that the pattern for this said that you needed something like over 100 grams of yarn to make one. So me, with my 100 gram skein, I was like, oh my God, I'm not gonna have enough, or I'll have just barely enough. And so I'm gonna use this, you know, contrasting teal color to make my yarn go further. I actually don't love this. I don't like this color combination. I think it's tacky. I don't think it matches well. I don't like it at all. Like I said, the person who chose this yarn said they like the colors together, so it's not a problem. But I just never liked those 2 colors together. I thought they were very strange. I don't think they went together. But anyway, I have all this yarn left over. And now I'm really sad because I could have very easily made one of these rompers with just this color and then maybe chosen some nice novelty buttons, you know, some cuter little accessories to go on it or something. But with the two-toned romper, I didn't want to go crazy on the buttons just in case, you know, they're having a boy and I thought it was a girl or the whatever. I mean, like, who knows? You can never tell with these things. So I just picked the most basic button. There we go. The most basic buttons for the bottom as well, where, you know, a little under it all where it works, where it connects together. Anyway, I'm over it. I hated this project. It was actually, no, it was fun to knit. It was fun to see it come together. Baby knits are very fast. It was a nice project. I recommend the pattern to anyone who has never tried a seamed piece, actually. Baby wear is nice because it's fast, it's easy. There's not really a way to screw it up, and if you do screw it up, it's not for an adult who's not going to change size for years and years. It's for a baby who's going to grow out of it in 3 months before they donate it. There's not a lot at stake. So if you're thinking about doing a seamed piece but you never have, think about baby garments, because this might just be your introduction to seamed garments. The other thing that I don't love, and I would have found a better seam had I known, is that I just used a standard mattress stitch seam to seam these together. but with this cotton yarn, it's not going to be as nice on the skin as a wool or even an acrylic. The person I'm knitting this for is vegan, and so they did not want any animal fibers. Totally understand. Also, I don't necessarily want to knit with expensive merino wool for a baby. Who knows if that baby's going to have an allergy? Who knows? I mean, as much as this person is incredibly knitworthy, they wouldn't know how to take care of wool. So anyway, I knitted out of cotton, but the seams on the inside are quite abrupt. They're a little jarring. And so I'm not sure. It's not going to be the softest, but again, 3 months and then they get to donate it. My little Mio romper by Pippi Eve. It's a great pattern, but seed stitch, guys. I mean, really, like you gotta like the person you're knitting for this. Am I the only one who doesn't love seed stitch? I don't think I am. I think going from knitting to purling sort of hurts everybody's hands, but like, tell me if you hate or if you love knitting seed stitch as well, because I would really love to know. Anyway, that's that. This is my only finished object, and when I was realizing that I would have more than enough of this silver yarn, I decided, okay, let me knit some little baby booties or something, right? Let me knit a hat to match in this teal color so that they could wear it, you know, as a little set. So little baby booties, a little hat, and this cute romper. So I went on Ravelry and I found, of course, the cutest little baby slippers in the whole wide world. And I have officially knit my first J.O., my first Joe. And if you're unfamiliar with the term, you got to go watch the Mean Girls Knit podcast, because they have turned this, as far as I know, they have coined the term a Joe, a jacked object. Something that you made, maybe you finished it, maybe you didn't, but it is just horrible. And you're never going to finish it or make the second of these little fucking baby slippers. I'm just going to show you my Joe, you guys. This here is the Baby Crossover Pumps by Katie Farrell. How do I say this? Okay, well, just take a look at my little slipper here. No, 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 no. No, I hate this pattern. I like the pattern, I hate it. I hated everything about it. It looks adorable, like a little crossover slipper. It does what it says on the tin, you know, it's a crossover pump. Okay, if you want to call that a pump, sure. It looks cute on the outside, but this thing took me for friggin' ever. It took me over like 4 hours to knit this one baby booty. There were probably 20 ends to weave in. The pattern does, you know, it's written so that you can switch from, you know, color A to color B. So I do have both the silver and the blue on there. And there's silver running around the outside, silver running around the top. But let me just tell you, this pattern is so bad. First and foremost, let's talk about how jacked up this toe is. It might look cute on camera, but on the inside, you can see you actually sew, this is the wrong side of the work, you sew, how this is constructed is this shoe has little flaps, it has little wings, and you cross them over each other, and then you're supposed to knit this one down, and then knit this one over the top of it. Sure. But if you're using cotton yarn, that just produces a very bumpy, very thick toe. This is not going to be comfortable for anything, certainly not for a baby. Granted, they're not going to be walking around so that this isn't, you know, pushing against their toes, but they've got little toenails and stuff. And I wish you could feel how thick the toe is. There's so much fabric sewn there. You have the sole of the shoe, you have layer 1 and layer 2 coming around it. There's like 3 things that all meet there, and then you have the contrasting color rim around the side, and then you have your working yarn that you're using to sew, you know, fold 1 to the sole, then fold 2 to the sole over the same thing. This thing had so much work put into it. It's not practical, it's not comfortable, and look how big that hole is. There's no way, a baby's foot is smaller than the size of the opening, let alone the size of this little shoe. So sure, this looks adorable, doesn't it? It's got 20 ends, at least 20 ends to weave in, because when you're doing those little flaps, you also, it's like bind off 3, then knit across the row, then bind off 3 and cut your yarn. Reattach the yarn to where you were, keep going, and you know, bind off another couple, cut your yarn and reattach it. And it's like, why? I don't get it. Why the heck? So there are so many ends woven into this thing. The toe is thick and it hurts, and like you put your finger in there and it's just bumpy. It's not soft. It's not nice. I hate it. So sure, it looks cute. It's adorable. If you want to murder yourself, if you want to, like, you know, have horrible thoughts about the person you're knitting for, this is like the worst project. This is the shittiest object I've ever made. So this is my first ever Joe, my jacked object. The pattern itself is finely written. It's fine. I can't recommend it only because I hated knitting it and I hated putting it together. I hated weaving in the ends. I hated knowing I'm never going to have a second baby booty. I don't know what to do with this one because it's done. All the ends are woven in. I don't have any like fringe. I don't have any loose ends hanging out. I don't know what to do with it. It's not getting a partner, so it's just going to sit there. So maybe when this kid loses a sock, they'll have a second one. I don't friggin' know. I'm over it, and sorry about it. Sorry, definitely not sorry about this one. Can't handle it, guys. So, all right, let's move out of this funk. God, it's such a funky episode, you know? Maybe it's the changing of the weather, but I'm like in a total funk about these jacked up baby booties. I'm in a funk about these like knitted knots, knitting knots. Jeez. I do have a couple of fun things that I'm working on though, and I have some fun things on the horizon, so stay tuned for next episode. I'll tell you about that at the end, but anyway, let's move off of the jacked objects and onto my works in progress. I have 2 of them to show you today. I'm going to save the most exciting one for last, so I will start with this thing, which doesn't look exciting now. Excuse me. This right here is the Celtic Myths shawl by designer Asita Krebs. Basically, it's a crescent-shaped shawl. You start with, you know, your 3 stitches in the middle. You increase on either end so that it's a crescent-shaped shawl. It's not a triangle shawl. And this part that I have finished so far is all stockinette with just a small eyelet on the edging. The yarn I'm knitting it out of is Knit Picks Comfy Worsted in the Celestial colorway. Oh my god, why can't you see anything? There we go. Knit Picks Comfy Worsted, colorway is Celestial. These come in 50-gram balls. They're nice. It's so sad where I got this yarn though, you guys. This yarn has been sitting in my closet for about a year, attached to the project that I originally bought it for, which is my Julissa scoop neck sweater. It's a worsted weight sweater. It's absolutely gorgeous. I've knit half of it. It's a top-down raglan style sweater. I've knit over half of it. I have all these balls just sitting here waiting for this lovely pattern to come together. It's more than hibernating. It's like, basically, there's no way that I'm going to bring this project back, and I feel so bad about that. I think I will still have more than enough yarn if I wanted to maybe frog it and reknit it. Anyway, I took this from a project that I will never see again. So it's sort of sad, but I am able to repurpose this yarn. And the reason I'm knitting this is because I was perusing Ravelry. You know, I'm going to Egypt for an 8-month course of study, course of working. At least I'm going to be working. My husband's going to be studying. We're going to be there for 8 months where we won't be able to leave the country. So I am bringing with me all the yarn and all the patterns that I need to knit for 8 months. So I'm perusing Ravelry, and you know, I'm looking at shawl patterns, I'm looking at sweater patterns, I'm looking for socks and for, you know, fingerless mitts and for shawls and all sorts of anything. And I came across this pattern, this Celtic Myths pattern, by Asita Krebs, and it immediately grabbed my attention. The shawl itself, like I mentioned, is a crescent shawl. The whole body of the shawl is knit in stockinette. I actually like how shiny this yarn is. This is a 75% cotton, 75% Pima cotton, and 25% acrylic blend. Oh, you can't even see anything. I'm sorry that that's washed out. So 75-25 cotton and acrylic. It has a nice shine to it, which I really like. But anyway, the end of this shawl, I have basically gotten to the point where I am no longer increasing, and the next part that I do is I cast on a large section at the end here, and I start knitting a beautiful, huge Celtic cable that goes all across the bottom like crescent of this shawl. It looks like a rainbow, just like this beautiful crescent with this incredible cable design over the top. I'm sorry, it's at the bottom of the shawl, under the crescent part of the shawl. It is absolutely stunning. And, oh, sorry, I'm knitting this for my mother-in-law, so if you're out there, mother-in-law, turn away. Sorry, oh my god, I totally spoiled it. Okay, well, I saw this pattern and I immediately thought of my mother-in-law, and so I wanted to knit this before I left so that I can leave it with my parents, and then when Christmas time comes around, they can just send out a package labeled to my mother-in-law, you know, with maybe this and maybe one or two other things if we get around to doing a little holiday shopping before we leave for the Middle East. But I immediately thought of her. It's going to be something she loves and adores. She loves this blue color. This is really a royal blue. It comes up very bright on the screen. I'm a little bit washed out today with the lighting outside, just natural lighting. So I'll try to put this up. Hopefully you can see the color. It's a very deep royal blue. And she loves blues and teals, and so she was also the one that I made that incredible Celtic neck warmer for. So she's gonna have a neck warmer, and now she's gonna have a huge, beautiful cabled shawl, and I hope she loves it. I know she's going to love it, so I'm not worried about that. But it's an incredible pattern. I love it so far. Originally, the pattern is for a DK weight yarn. It doesn't matter, it's a shawl, and so I am just using this worsted weight yarn, and this is a pretty classic worsted weight. Sometimes knit picks can have thin worsted. This one's pretty accurate to worsted. It might be a little thinner than what you get at the craft store, but it's definitely more than a DK weight yarn. So I knit this in worsted, and it's going to be a huge shawl. I have these on 24-inch circulars, so you can't see just how massive it is. But if you've made a shawl like this before, you know that this part, this edging, is actually going to be straight, and then the shawl curves down underneath it. So anyway, that's that. It's absolutely beautiful, and I'm ready to start the cable piece. So hopefully next time you see me, I'll have a beautiful finished object to show you guys. But let me show you. Aha, I found it. Okay, sorry mom-in-law, but this one had a knot in the yarn, and so this knot was tiny. I saw it and I knew it was coming, and I was like, oh, that is a small knot, it won't make a big deal, I'm not going to worry about it. And of course, right when I knit that stitch, it fell to the front of the stitch, and I can't find a way to get it to the back of the stitch. It's all stockinette, so if that little knot can go into the back of a purl bump, for example, I'd be a lot happier. You can maybe see it here. There you go. This is the knot right there. It doesn't look like much, but you can feel it when you run your fingers over it. Actually, it's not so bad, but you can sort of see it. It creates a little bump in the knitting, which I don't like. And I just wish it wasn't there. So my mom-in-law won't care. She won't even notice it, obviously, unless she's watching this episode, which she does, and I feel so bad because I totally spoiled her Christmas surprise. So turn away, turn away, Mom. Better yet, I'll just tell her not to watch this episode until Christmas. So she knows better. Serves her right for watching my podcast, you know? But anyway, it's going to be a huge shawl. I can't wait to finish it. I can't wait to block it out. I can't wait to knit this cable. You guys know I've been on a cable kick lately. And so I'm really excited about this pattern. Hooray! God, Christmas in September. It's not as catchy as like Christmas in July, but it's very nice anyway, and I'm really happy to be, you know, doing this. So Mom, you know I love you, and you asked for it. She didn't ask for it, I'm sorry, but she is crafty. She just made us a really incredible petty point, needle pointed like sampler. It's absolutely incredible. It's beautiful. She has it framed, and that's like our big gift for Christmas, and she has spent so much time and effort working on this. So the least I can do is maybe give her a beautiful shawl every year for Christmas. So this one's for you. I love you so much, and Merry Christmas, like 4 months early, whatever. That's my first work in progress, and I am working on something for myself. Now, this thing that I'm working on for myself is the Britannia Sweater. It's a pullover pattern by Tin Can Knits. And if you know Tin Can Knits, it comes in sizes from baby to adult. And it's got a really lovely cable up the center and a couple of eyelets, you know, going out in either direction from the center of the breast, basically. Oh, here's a really beautiful up close picture of it. So I am knitting this sweater for myself, and the pattern calls for DK weight yarn. My actual size would probably be like a 2XL, like an extra large. I decided to knit it one smaller in the extra large size for a couple of reasons. Number one, whenever I knit something that has a lot of eyelets, it always stretches out so much when I block it. And there's not really a way to lay it flat. You know, I mean, when you're soaking your lace in a tub and then you sort of wring out all the water, it is like incredibly large. It's huge. And so I am going to definitely make the smaller size that I need. But the second reason is because I'm going to Egypt, and fans of the show will know that I'm sort of a lush. I like to, you know, drink beer and or wine and or cocktails and or like eat cheese and crackers and sausage. I just love to like imbibe, you know, like food and alcohol. Who doesn't love that, you know? Cheers to you, fellow lushes. But while I'm in Egypt, they don't have a culture of drinking at all. So we are probably, me and my husband, we are probably not going to be drinking for 8 months. So when we were in Egypt last time for 3 months, I lost about 20 pounds. So triple that. I don't think I'm going to lose 60 pounds. I really almost hope I don't lose 60 pounds. I don't want to, like, that would just be a little dramatic for me. And I don't want to, this is so vain, I don't want all my hand knits that I've already made for myself to go completely unworn. So I'm hoping not to lose a ton of weight, but I am expecting to lose a little bit of weight in Egypt. So I'm just using one size smaller in the hopes that I'll be able to wear whatever it is I'm making. Also, I can always stretch it out a little bit more if I need it. It's a mostly lace project. And the lace on the sides are huge panels. I mean, there are 2 very large panels of lace on the side. I will be able to get that extra inch or 2 of ease if I need. So let's break it out, shall we? It's a bottom-up pattern. Oh my God, that color is not true to life at all. There we go. It's a vibrant purple yarn. The yarn itself is Sweet Georgia Tough Love Sock. This is in the grape jelly colorway. Come on, show true. It's looking very indigo on the screen, but that's because it cannot be like, it gets blown out no matter where I post it. Instagram, it gets blown out. This is a proper purple color. It is a vibrant purple color, a vibrant purple. It's absolutely incredible. This yarn I purchased while I was in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I purchased this at River City Yarns. Yeah, that famous yarn shop that sells a whole bunch of yarn online, but also is sort of home to the grocery girls. And I believe that they get almost all their yarn at River City Yarns. It's a really lovely shop and it's incredible. So I picked this up there. This is, I believe, a Canadian designer. I can't be for sure on that. Anyway, oh, hand dyed in Canada. There it is. This is a mix blend. This is 80% superwash merino and 20% nylon. And this yarn is a fingering weight. The pattern is for a DK weight. The pattern is DK weight. So I'm exchanging it for fingering. The pattern calls for 1,200 yards of DK weight. I thought I'd have no problem picking up 1,200 yards of fingering, totally forgetting that obviously you need a little bit more yarn because it's so much thinner. You're gonna have more yarn per stitch in fingering weight than you would in DK weight. So I'm a little bit worried that I won't have enough yarn to complete this project, but I'm hoping to cut some corners as I like to do with some of my patterns. And the way that I'm cutting corners is, first and foremost, I am knitting this in a very loose gauge, even though I feel like that might use more yarn in the long run. Because I'm using a fingering weight yarn, I have to knit very loosely and on a higher size needle than the pattern calls for, or else I won't get gauge at all or be even close. And I'm already knitting a size smaller, so if my gauge is tight as well and I'm knitting a smaller size, I'll end up with like a medium size sweater, and that's not my size. I'm more like a 2XL, so I'm whatever. Anyway, the ways that I'm hoping to cut corners on this, if you'll notice in this picture, it is a sort of like a scoop neck, very high necked pattern. What I'm hoping to do is maybe make it more of a sort of a scoop neck. So what I'm thinking is there's this huge cable here, and what I'm hoping is maybe when I'm done I'll be able to maybe cast off these stitches and then slowly cast off one by one in this direction with the lace pattern. So that way maybe I'll get a V-neck or sort of a scoop neck and be able to save a little bit of yarn that way. Also, this pattern is for a full-length sweater. I'm hoping to make 3/4 length sleeves. You know, there's a couple of ways that I can save maybe even like 40 grams of yarn, I'm hoping. So I've got 3 skeins of this Sweet Georgia, which amounts to about 1,275 yards. The original pattern is for 1,200. I've got a little bit extra. Also, not to mention that these skeins are a bit fuller. It's supposed to be a 100 gram skein, but it is actually much more like 115 grams, although this isn't, oh shoot. It's a 115 gram skein. Okay, well then I'm screwed. I might actually only have that 1,275 grams of yarn. Or I'm sorry, 1,275 yards of yarn. So I'll make it work. I've knit a fingering weight sweater before out of, you know, standard fingering weight, and I had 3 skeins and it was perfect. So I'm hoping that I can duplicate those results and make it work. A couple of modifications that I'm already making. This cable is not the cable that's in the pattern. The cable in the pattern is, it almost looks like sort of hearts that go from bottom up. I don't love that cable, so guess which cable pattern I'm using? You win! It's the cable pattern from the Celtic cabled neck warmer that I've made 3 of and that I love and that I can't get enough of. So I am using this cable pattern. I think it looks really nice. My pattern was 4 stitches off from the Britannia pattern in the, you know, by Tin Can Knits, and so I basically added an extra row of knit stitches here, just 2 on either side. There we go. Those 2 on either side, just so that my count would be the same as the stitch count in the pattern. But it seems to be working out so far, and I'm loving it. I'm trudging along. This might be my long-term project for a little while, but I'm thinking it's going to work out fine, just fine, so I'm not too worried. On a side note, I think the reason I fell in love with this pattern is because it so reminds me of the Julissa pattern by Vanessa Smith that one that I was knitting out of my Knit Picks comfy worsted yarn that I am halfway through that I can't seem to finish. Both patterns have a cable in the middle with basically these eyelets, this lace pattern on the side, almost identical to the lace pattern. The cable on the Julissa sweater is a bit different. It's a much wider cable. I think it's like 4x4 cable, and this is 2x2. Also, that's a worsted weight. This is DK weight, but I'm making it in fingering. But I feel really bad because I'm so excited about this knit. I really hope that I can stay this excited and stoked about this beautiful, beautiful sweater. It just reminds me so much of the Julissa sweater that I'm not working on. So maybe I'll end up picking that up at some point. I have no idea when or why I would pick it up. But both of these sweaters are so beautiful. I'm knitting this in really good yarn. This is, you know, hand-dyed yarn from Canada. I bought it in River City Yarns. I've got all these great memories. I went for knit night, so I was talking to all these awesome ladies at knit night. I felt really bad because I had like a dry cough when I was in Edmonton a couple weeks back, and I all of a sudden got like an allergy attack when I'm sitting there at knit night, and I start like crying, holding in my coughs, and I start like literally weeping, and I'm like, oh my god, I have to excuse myself. So if you guys were there at the knit night, I apologize that I like literally left crying. I didn't have any problems, I swear. I just was like sick and had like an allergy attack for some reason in the yarn shop. I'm not allergic to anything. But I did buy this yarn, and I bought a couple of other skeins of yarn, but I decided to save that for my next episode. So anyway, that's all the knitting I have for this episode. I hope you guys love, love, love my Britannia Sweater by Tin Can Knits. I hope you guys love, love, love my incredible Celtic Myths shawl by Anita Krebs, and I hope that you guys liked my finished object, this Mio romper. Next episode should be a fun one. This is going to be the first one that I do in hopefully a little, maybe mini series, I'm gonna call it. I just put in my yarn order for 8 months, and so I should be receiving very soon a very large box from Knit Picks. I've also requested yarn from Cascade. I've also been shopping at the local yarn stores a lot. I've also just come back from Edmonton where they've got a famous yarn shop. Maybe I have some skeins left over from a while back. So I'm gonna do a yarn haul video. Hope you guys like it. I'm just going to talk about all the yarn that I have purchased for Egypt, and then I'm also going to show you guys hopefully pictures of what's in my queue, what am I going to be knitting for this 8-month journey that I'm going to take in Egypt. When I thought I was going to be in Egypt last year, we ended up being there for 3.5 months. I thought we were going to be there for a year, and I brought a whole bunch of yarn with me. I brought a whole bunch of knitting, and I basically finished all of my knitting in that 3-month period. So this time I'm doubling down. I'm bringing more yarn, more patterns. I'm getting more excited. I'm gonna be knitting for like 8 months of Egypt, I hope. And so my next episode should be a yarn haul video. So I hope you guys like it. And then once I actually start working with some of these yarns, I actually wanna do maybe mini reviews about what do I think about Serdar DK cotton? How do I feel about, you know, Knit Picks, comfy worsted? How do I feel about some of these yarns? Maybe just like small little videos. Maybe I'll put them in the end of an episode. I'm not sure for a podcast. But I want to start maybe doing reviews not only for you guys but also for myself so that I can remember what do I think about this yarn, because for example this Serdar DK cotton is absolutely lovely, but I can't really get it in the States. It's more widely available in the UK, but also like my Cascade 220 cotton is sort of my go-to cotton yarn, and so like how do I feel about them both? I think I like Cascade better. It seems to be a thicker DK. I like the color palette a bit better. I've made garments out of this, garments out of that, and you know, sort of how do I feel about it? So let me know if you guys would be interested in that at all. I'll put one out and you can tell me then like, oh my god, I love it, or like, oh god, don't do any more of these, we're so bored. And that's that. So stay tuned for next time's episode. It's just going to be a yarn haul. I don't think I'm going to do any finished objects, works in progress, you know, any sort of super like my own knitting. But that's because I only have these 2 works in progress right now. One's a huge shawl, the other's a huge sweater, so I might not have too much progress to show you guys. Before I go, I almost forgot, but I picked up a new project bag while I was in Canada. Let's see if you can tell that it's from Canada. Hooray! I went to Michael's and picked up some buttons or whatever in Canada, and they had these little tote bags on sale. And guess how much it was? It was $1.50, 150 Canadian cents, because they just turned 150. They just had their 150th anniversary for Canada Day. Happy Canada Day, everybody. I know this is a long time back, but for the 150th celebration, Michael's put out little Canada bags, and so I absolutely love it. I'm gonna bring this to Egypt. Hopefully it will keep me, safe during my travels. I also have like a little maple leaf pin that I might be wearing to airports and things like that. But this is like a really lightweight little tote bag. It should fit a huge project. Currently it's home to like all my scraps that I have. Because this is not exactly my house, this is my parents' house, but because it's not my house, I can't just like leave my knitting everywhere, even though I still do. Sorry, Mom and Dad. But I can't leave it everywhere as much as I would, so I sort of put most things away in here. So even though my parents think I'm a slob with all my knitting laid out everywhere, they don't even see half of it. They should see my bedroom upstairs with all my yarn packages, but we'll see next time. Okay. That's all I have for you today. I'm really happy to be back. Thank you for watching if you've made it this far. Thank you for joining us. As mentioned before, you can always find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Meg311Yo. Please do join our Ravelry group. I don't think there's anything new going on in there, but definitely just show me what you guys are knitting, any projects that you might have recommendations for me, specifically for like lace weight yarn. I have a little bit left over that I might want to make something out of, but I don't really know a ton of lace weight patterns for like a single skein. So let's say 450 yards of lace weight yarn. Maybe a bit more than that. I might have like 1,000 yards of lace weight yarn. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on that. Or you can always leave a comment in the doobly-doo below. That's it for me. Thank you so much for joining me. Ma salama. Have an awesome weekend knitting, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Cheers.